You're on camera.
Hi, I'm going to talk to you today about parenting styles. I am what you would call a free-range parent. There are two main kinds of parenting. There are helicopter parents who hover over their kids, and there are free-range parents who kind of let them out like chickens to forage for themselves. I'm not quite that extreme. The goal of a free-range parent is to get your kid to be independent, but to know how to stay safe as well. That seems like a hard thing to do right now because it's such a dangerous world out there. And you see the news and there's all these kidnappings and, priests molesting kids, and there's just terrible things going on in the world. But what you don't know is that it's really not that bad. Statistically speaking, it hasn't been this safe since 1970. Crime climbed until the 1990s, and then it started falling. I actually looked up the statistics for West Valley where I live, and West Valley has a really bad reputation, but it actually, crime per person has gone down over 50% in the last 20 years. When you hear about all these crimes, you need to take into consideration that the population is growing as well. So, with a higher population, there will be some more crime, but like I said, the percentage of crimes is lower. When you are considering these things that, it's just not that scary out there, we hear about all these kidnappings and everything, but the fact of the matter is only 1 in 1.5 children is kidnapped by a stranger. When you hear about other kidnappings, Amber Alerts, that kind of thing, that is generally done by a family member. It's a custody battle thing. A kid ran away. Like I said, just 1 in 1.5 million children a year is kidnapped by a stranger, which means that for you to have a good chance of being kidnapped, you would need to stand outside by yourself for 72 years. So some things that we can do to help your kids be independent would be to give them some responsibilities. If you have a teenager and you've been raising them to believe that the world is a scary place, then it seems like, well, where am I supposed to start? And so the first thing you can do is to give them chores. Too many parents just do everything for their kids. So you need to be teaching them to take care of themselves so that they can go live out on their own. There are a lot of students in colleges who have stressful mental breakdowns, especially during their freshman year, and it's because they're just not ready to be on their own. Mom and dad did everything for them. They did their laundry, they did all the cooking, they did all of the shopping, and so these kids just don't know what to do. So one thing you can have your teenagers do would be to have them plan a meal. Have them go to the store and do the shopping. Trust them to be alone in the kitchen for a little while and get things taken care of. And you'll be really surprised to see how much your kids will embrace this and move forward in their independence. I have smaller kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And so what I do is I leave them alone sometimes. I don't leave them at the house alone, but I'll stick them in their bedroom and leave. And I trust that my child is not going to get her fat finger into a little little outlet because her fingers are just too big. The older daughter, the 3-year-old, has a friend next door, and we have a fenced yard. And so for her to get to his house, she needs to walk out of our fence and around along the street and then into his yard, his front door. And for a long time, it was really scary for me to allow her to do that because she's such a little person. I was like, nobody's going to see her. She's going to walk out into the road and get freaked out, and someone's going to smash her, and it was just a scary thing. But then I realized that we live on a very safe street. We have maybe 2 cars an hour that come down the street. And if I can teach her to stay on the grass and not walk on the road, then she'll be safe. So we practiced a few times, and I would walk with her and hold her hand and just keep telling her, stay on the grass. And then I told her, okay, this time you get to go by yourself. And I stood in my living room and I peeked out my window and watched her the whole time so that she wouldn't know that I was watching. But she walked over to her friend's house by herself and knocked on the door, and he wasn't there. But she was so proud of herself that she was able to do this by herself. And so now, after watching her a few times, I'm confident that she can handle this kind of a responsibility herself. Another thing that we're working on right now is getting herself some food. So we have a drawer in the fridge that's the bottom drawer that she can reach, and we keep some healthy snacks in there, like string cheese and apple slices and that kind of thing, just stuff that's already prepared. And when she's hungry, she can go get it herself. And she was about 2 years old. She figured out how to climb onto the bathroom sink and get herself a drink. And so my husband had a really hard time with that. She would step on the handles of the drawers and use them as a ladder to climb up, and he was convinced that she was going to fall down and smash her head open, probably die. And I had to have a talk with him and tell him, you know, it's just a drink, it's just a sink. Even if she does fall, she might get a bump, but she'll be okay, and then she'll learn to be more careful next time. So, you know, this has two good aspects to it. First of all, she's more independent and more responsible and feels confident in herself. And for me, I don't have to do so much for her. When she gets thirsty, I say, okay, go get a drink. And she